Hello and welcome. I am Scrapperlock, and this is soloing the Stalker. We're level 41 with Dark Phantom, and we are on the sort of Council slash Nemesis, Eternal Nemesis story arc, and we're about to go up against Nosferatu. I think I'm going to drop this mission to +1. Nosferatu is always tough, and I don't know if I'm going to beat him at +1, but I doubt I can beat him at +2. I'm fairly sure my Brute, my Stalker, my Scrapper all lost to him at +2 at this level. So let's do him at +1 and see how it goes. Hopefully I'll actually be able to do it at +2. We'll see what happens. And as we go today, we're going to be talking about pickup groups and why we solo City of Heroes instead of doing pickup groups. This is, again, something that came from the one guy whose video inspired me to do a Stalker playthrough, because he was saying that Stalkers were sort of mid when it came to soloing, and I think Stalkers are top tier, and hopefully I've shown that. But yeah, he was talking about how, I guess he got a question about it, and the person was sort of asking, is it just me? Right? And I would say to the person who said, not only, the person said something like, not only don't pickup groups stop to smell the roses, they'll say, what roses? What are those? That is absolutely the case. It is 100% the experience that I have always had in pickup groups in every MMO I've ever played, and especially in City of Heroes. It is why I flat out do not do pickup groups and never will. I did them a few times in City of Heroes and in other games back in the day, and I just found that I hated them. And I remember my best friend would do pickup groups like, quote unquote, well, you need, it's quick leveling. I'm like, I'm not trying to level up fast. I want to enjoy the game. I don't want to whip through everything. You're playing through one of your story arcs or something, and you're trying to read the clues, and while you're reading the clues, people are clicking on glowies, and the clues are being updated in your interface before you've even read them. I've had the experience before where, okay, we're over here, we fight these guys, right? And I start typing something into the team chat about whatever question I have, and as I'm typing it, they're gone. Like, I look up from the keyboard and the chat window, and they're gone. They're already over here, right? They've already defeated whatever spawned over here, and now they're over there fighting these guys, and I'm still back here trying to type whatever question I was typing into the chat. And I do not like that. And that's really frustrating. And so I had that experience 3 or 4 times in COH with pickup groups, and I just said, no, I'd rather not play at all. That is not enjoyable to me, and I find it really frustrating. So I don't know what it is about MMO players and why so many of them are in such a rush. I think maybe part of it is that because MMOs are designed to keep you playing, you have the grindy nature of it, and so they're trying to get past that. In other words, the developers kind of cause it by making it so that you have to defeat 300 of these just to gain a level. So they're like, quick, let's get them done. But on the other hand, I don't particularly mind being a given level, and I don't see why I would need to be a higher level in any sort of an objective sense. And so, to me, I'm perfectly happy to stay 41st level. I don't need to get to 42. Like, it doesn't really do anything for me to be a higher level. Now, I do understand when you're in the upper teens, and back in the old day when they had DOs and SOs, and you couldn't get SOs till 22, now you can get them earlier. And when there were no IOs and stuff, and people were like really anxious to get to 22 so they could swap out their dual origins for a set of SOs. But I feel like once I get there, and I'm only really kind of chomping at the bit to do that when I hit like 19 or so, because how did that guy see me? I wasn't hidden. At 19, you're 19, 20, you're getting very close to 22nd level, and the level 20 and up missions are scaled a little higher. They're calibrated to be a little tougher, and kind of if you don't have SOs on, and you don't have that many slots, so if you don't have SOs on the few slots you have, it is a bit tough, and you can see that if you go back. and look at our playthrough in the toward the end of season 1, I guess, when I didn't have SOs yet, there were some parts of it that were a bit tough because I was still on dual origins. Um, but so I mean, I can understand maybe wanting to rush a little bit from level 19 to 22. I can understand back in the day wanting to rush at the 9s and the 4s, like 14, 19. Well, not then, but especially like 24, 29, 34, 39, because often we would run out of story arcs, and now I just want to get to the next set of contacts. That I can understand, because you're just going through junk missions. But so many players seem to rush through level 1 to 50 just all the way through. Like they just can't they just can't wait to get to the end. And then frequently what happens is they get to the end and they get bored and stop playing. Now some people keep playing, but a lot of them don't. And, I talked about this some time ago with my supergroups, right? I was in one supergroup, switched to another one. I'm fairly certain almost none of the people in either of those supergroups, and particularly none of the people who were like level 50 the first 2 weeks after this game came back, pretty sure none of them are still playing COH, right? They got really high and they got bored and they stopped. Now I'm still playing City of Heroes because I didn't get bored. But I also just fundamentally enjoy the gameplay, so I like the game comes back. I haven't been able to play it in a decade. Why would I want to rush through the game so that I'm not going to be playing it anymore? Like that doesn't even track. So I'm not sure I understand really the mentality of most of the people who are rushing through content, but I absolutely don't. And most pickup groups, in my experience, have been doing that. And when I said to my best friend, "Don't they kind of rush through the content?" He didn't say they don't. He said, "Well, yeah, maybe they do, but so what? It's good XP. You're leveling, and you're able to do things that you can't do solo." I think, well, that's all true, but I'm not really interested in leveling. And although there might be storylines that I would like to try that are locked behind group content, I'll be happy to try them with my supergroup or my guild. But I'm not doing them with a pickup group because a pickup group is just going to be in a rush. They're just zooming through the content, just burning through it as fast as possible, all trying to be like that tanker who got to level 40 in one day by doing burn. If they could still do it, all those people would be doing that, right? And that's just not really something that I find enjoyable. You do you. If you like that, that's fine, but this is why I don't do pickup groups. You say, why do I solo City of Heroes? Because it's better than a pickup group. Miles better. I can experience the game at the pace that I find enjoyable. I don't have to try and rush faster than I would like to appease some guys who are trying to power level. And I can enjoy the content. Listen, even my roleplay supergroups, and this used to actually very much annoy me. Again, we would do something, we'd click on a glowy, we'd get some clue for the mission, and I would stop and start, and start typing something like, I want to say, hey, did you notice what it says on this computer here about this Nemesis guy, right? This would be me role-playing, right? And by the time I get done typing that, yep, everybody's up here fighting another spawn. Right? They didn't see it. They weren't. I wanted to stop during the mission and role play about the mission, and they separated the role play. Right? They were like, "Why we aren't role playing here? This is running missions. Like, why can't we do both?" Yeah, I always wanted to role play first as a preference. It's going to take me a while to remember I have laser beam eyes and I can shoot those guys instead of having to run them down. Not that I think that would have been able to take him out in one shot, but at least I can start getting some damage at range. And I keep forgetting I have that. This is the elevator we need to go to. So yeah, I completely agree. So many people rush through stuff. And look, if you want to rush through your job because you don't like it, that's fine. Go ahead and do it. And if you want to rush through games, it's up to you. It's your life. It's your game. Play it how you want. But one of the things that I often find myself trapped into is playing a game too fast, and then every once in a while I stop and say, wait a minute, let's savor this. So, like, for instance, the Paradox games like Europa Universalis or Crusader Kings, these are games that are real time, they're pausable, not plausible. You can pause them, and you can also set them on different speeds, right? Whereas, like, speed 1 is each day takes, I don't know, 10 seconds. Speed 2 each day takes 5 seconds. Speed 3 each day takes 3 seconds. Speed 4 each day takes 2 seconds. Speed 1 each day goes by in a second. Right? And what you see a lot of these players do is they just hit the speed 5 and try to run it as fast as possible because they want to get through that game. But my thing is, why would I want to get through the game when I'm playing the game, like, on purpose? I'm trying to play this game. Why would I want to shorten the amount of time I get to play the game? Now, I do understand there are lots of options. There are lots of kingdoms you could play, or countries that you could play, leaders you could play, etc. And if you want to sample them all, you can't take 7 months to do one playthrough, the way I sometimes do with, like, Crusader Kings. But to me, I like to savor these things. And sometimes I do find myself setting the speed on 3 or 4 just to get to the next, I don't know, succession of the throne or something. And so we're trying to get to the next leader because this one's quite old. Like, all right, let's just set it on speed 4 and get to the end of this guy's reign, and then he dies and you start a new character, and I forget to put the speed back down. And then I'm running it on a really high speed for a long time, and I realize, I shouldn't be doing that. I do find that you kind of get trapped. You're sort of caught in what I call a click trap. Not to be confused with clickbait. A click trap is where you're just clicking the same things over and over again without thinking about it, and therefore not really savoring the game that you're playing. And I think it's easy to get into that kind of a trap. Right? And so I think the same thing is happening with pickup groups who are just zipping through the content, and they're kind of getting in the trap of, let's get through the game as fast as possible. Now, I mean, look, if you enjoy that, that's fine. But for me, I actually want to savor the game and play it and enjoy the various parts of it. Sometimes with board games, there'll be house rules to make the game go faster. And, sometimes you want to, right? Maybe you're playing a board game that takes 7 hours if you don't do some house ruling. And do I hear a glowy? This guy's a sniper. If you only have tonight to play, right? You and your friends. And so as a consequence, maybe you so make sure Nosferatu's not in here. As a consequence, maybe you and your friends play some house rule that speeds up the play because, well, you only have 4 hours. And you're starting at 8, you're ending at midnight, and you cannot play longer than that. And if you don't house rule it to make the gameplay go faster, you're not going to finish. So I can see doing that. But, like, for example, I'm talking about, and I've already ordered and planning to do this, I'm going to be playing some board games. Some are designed to be solo. 2 are designed to be solo. 1 is not. It's a 2-player game, but it says you can solo it fairly easily. And yeah, when I set one of them up, I'm not going to be trying to blaze through it. I'm going to be taking my time and trying to enjoy it. Right? And that one game that we were talking about, Red Strike, where it supposedly takes 360 hours, right? When I saw that, I was like, I want this game. Why? Because it means that I'll have it set up for a long time. If I have room in my house, which I really don't. But if I could set it up, if I had a basement where I could set the thing up for a year, I would love it, because it would mean that you get to really sink your teeth in and enjoy the game for a very long time. Assuming, obviously, that you like the game. Right? And it's the same thing with this. I don't try to rush through leveling. I try to take my time and savor it because I enjoy the game. right? This is a fun game for me, and I want to savor the levels. I don't want to go blazing through level 1 through 10 in 45 minutes. So I don't purposely take any experience buffs. Some of them come on automatically, and I just accept it. If you go look at the Silver Phoenix playthrough, and the reason I'm not doing this now is because I already did it that time, I was turning the XP gain off. As I got to the 9s and the 4s, I was turning the XP gain off, right? Or I would do this thing where I would do one story arc with the XP on and one with it XP off, or maybe one mission on or one episode with it on and one episode with it off. So I was like basically half XP gain. And why was I doing that? I was doing that because I wanted to sort of take as long as I could and have this character be in every single story arc. There's Nosfi. He is a +1. Okay, so that's pretty good. Who's around him? This Chasseur, and then these guys are patrols. So we're gonna pull them. We want them out. I'm gonna go ahead and grab this. Oh no! Oh, jeez, we all almost lost connection to map server. Don't want that. Okay, good. That pulled them. I mean, I was like, I'll try to get it, but the most important thing is to pull them out of the room. Are you guys coming? What happened? Come on. Oh, I need to change the color on that thing, too. Yeah, what's he doing? How come they're not coming over here? So Nosferatu is going to require overload and possibly additional lux. He is very tough. I feel like, and I think I said this before, Envoy of Shadows, Nosferatu, Madam of Mystery. Those are probably the 3 toughest villains on the hero's side of the game. This guy can probably be safely ignored. Alright, folks. Here we go. Look at that. We only did a tiny sliver to him there. He's extremely tough. One thing you have to watch with this, these powers are great, but a lot of them have long animation times, and you do have to watch that. I want to get over here, because if I need to drain endurance, I want to get endurance off both of them. We also want to placate. So I'm going to probably have to move around the other side if I want to placate. So far he's okay, but I don't think I don't think that's necessarily going to last. Let's do a placate. Build up. Assassinate. Alright, we did something to him. Did a little something. But you can see he can like heal himself and stuff. So we have to be careful, and we also want to make sure we keep ourselves healed up. This guy isn't going to last long, and he's gone. Where are you going? Why are you running? I thought you were the bully. He does huge amounts of damage when he hits you. Got placate again. Missed him. Of course I missed him. Why wouldn't I miss him? Look at that, he keeps healing himself. Let's do extra damage. I don't know if I'm going to get him before Overload runs out, actually. Yeah, he is so resistant. And has so many hit points. We're doing okay. It's just taking a long time. That was good. That crit helped. Do more damage. That crit was good. Got him! Got him at +1. That is not bad. I don't think I could have beaten him at +2. But we got him at +1. And that took care of him. And we're about to lose our toggles. There we go. So why do I turn them off when they're going to auto turn off? Basically, I just turn them off early to get it over with and let the recharge time start so that once we get our endurance start coming back, we can just go ahead and throw our toggles back on. But we have to wait till the blue is gone. And I'm waiting in here because I just don't want to get jumped by somebody. Here we go. All right, so we should be all right. We want super jump. Out we go, guys. Pretty good. This is a very long story arc, it feels like. Not that I'm complaining. Hit the same base Nemesis harvested Ricky technology. Maybe we can work backwards to find out what he was looking for. Okay. And how are we doing on time? Alright, 20 minutes. That's fine. Let's go to Brickstown. Well, we took care of him. I think since this is probably not the end of this story arc, and we don't have to fight like an elite boss or anything, we can go back to +2s and set the mission up. And off we go. Yeah, so, I mean, like, again, I don't care what other people do, but what I like to do is really, you know, kind of take my time and enjoy things. I don't really want to rush through this thing that I'm doing for fun, right? Why rush fun? Sort of reminds me of my mother. She always used to try to get us to slow down opening our Christmas presents because she said, this is it. There's not going to be another Christmas for a year. So she would, you know, here, you open this and you open that. And we had to take turns, right? I would open mine and then my sister would open hers. And we weren't allowed to open them simultaneously because my mother would say, I want to see you open it, right? And also it forced us to slow down. And you know, as a kid, I was in a rush, right? But as an adult, I see the wisdom of that because it meant that it kind of lengthened Christmas and allowed us to savor it, which is what she was trying to tell us to do. Savor this because you're not going to have it again for a year. And the other thing, of course, that my mom knew was that we weren't going to have our belief in Santa Claus forever. And when you're 7, you might not realize that, right? But an adult does. And so it's like, don't blaze your way through this set of presents from Santa Claus, because as an adult, I know that this might be the last year you believe the presents are from Santa Claus. You might not believe that next year, and that's going to take some of the fun away from it, right? It's going to make it less exciting and less interesting and all the rest of it. And so... of course he shielded the drone, because they always do. So that was kind of what she was trying to do, is get us to savor things. And as I've gotten older, I've definitely realized that it's important to do that. You think about like books, reading novels and stuff, and I'm on this website, the Storygraph, and I like it and everything, but you put these goals of like how many books you're going to read a year, and whether you make the goal or not, one of the things you have to be careful of is to not have your reading goal cause you to rush so fast through the books that you're reading that you don't enjoy what you're reading. Like, I don't want to whip through a book so fast that I don't even remember it. Now, it is a bit of a, I don't want to call it a contradiction, that if I am really loving a book, I will often go through it pretty quickly because I can't put it down. But that's different from saying I want to read it fast because I need to get this many books done in a year, right? So yeah, what I try to do is savor those things that I like and that I'm enjoying and that are entertaining me. I don't need to rush through them. And it's the same thing with games, but a lot of people don't savor things. And so when you get on a pickup group and the group is being run by people who aren't savoring the game, but are just kind of whipping through it, then you're going to have a conflict, really, because you want to do one thing and they want to do something else, right? I always think about that with my students. Trying to see if I hear a glowy, but I don't. I do hear one. Do I? It's super faint. Well, I guess we'll take these guys out. Where's the comm officer? Yeah, I try to tell my students who are in such a rush to finish college, maybe don't be in such a rush, right? Because when you get out of college, then you have to get a real job and everything, and whatever you think of college and taking classes, it's a lot more fun than the real world. And they're so eager to get into the quote-unquote real world and get a job and everything. And it's like, guys, jobs can suck. There's not necessarily any reason to rush. I can never find my way through this horrible room. I feel like I've gotten this room a lot of times. I'm not going to be able to get out, am I? What the heck? That's the wrong way. Oh, I can never figure it out. These maps are so frustrating. My three-dimensional map abilities are defeated by this kind of thing. Everything looks the same. Nope, we're going the other way. I don't know how to get out. What? That's the way south. So somehow I have to go that way. But when I go up, I can't go that way either. I've been in this room like 8 billion times. You'd think I would be able to figure it out. But I never can. I always get lost. This looks like it's the way out, but it's not. Ah, this is so frustrating. How do I get over there? Sometimes when you put a waypoint down, it'll actually plant it where you need it to be. But I don't see it there, down there. Yep, see, it got it. It does tend to put the waypoint on the lowest level. So sometimes that trick works. Not always. These guys are definitely all +3s. That's pretty cool. Aren't there monkeys over here? Yeah, here. There we go. they saw me. Alright, let's start with the placate. And then I can assassinate the chief mentalist. They're not so tough. The Rikti. Substantially easier to deal with most of the time than the Nemesis. I mean, you can sort of tell that the Rikti, even though they have them up to level 50, are a level 30s, sort of in the 30s kind of set of villains rather than 50s, 40s. Nemesis is more 40s, right? You can tell. They're just tougher. Now, so the way I do this, as I showed before, is I ignore the drones because they can't do anything to me. And I just worry about the other Rikti in the spawn. Let's get some endo. And that takes care of him. So we're looking for the last piece of information. I don't know what that constitutes. Like, is it a glowy? Are we going to get it from saving an NPC? I'm not sure. So anyway, post your thoughts on the way pickup groups tend to function. Do you do a lot of pickup groups? If so, how do you deal with the kind of the impatience? Are you not bothered by it? Do you feel the same way and you just want to get through the content? Or do you get frustrated by the constant go, 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 go nature of pickup groups? Is there going to be a glowy over here? Like, where is this thing? This map is enormous. Look at this. Okay, that's a dead end. We get stuck on those beams, too. Whoever designed... I know that the maps are somewhat procedurally generated, but it's not entirely. Right? So what happens is there are pieces of these maps, rooms and hallways, and they get stuck together, right? It doesn't dynamically generate the actual shape of the hallway. And so that means that somebody drew, as a part of a map, this really long snaking hallway that's going to lead to, you know, some room, this room here. Right, and then they attached this room, which you've seen in other places, to the end of this long snaking hallway. And my question is, why would anybody create this long snaking hallway? It's like it's just there to be long, right? There are generally no spawns in these long hallways, and so it's just space I have to run through. You could have had that room dead end over here, and it would have had the same effect and taken a lot less time to traverse. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like a lot of times when people design missions and stuff, they don't really think about it. You know, one of the things that we were talking about in a previous episode is what stuff do you feel like RPG features, maybe not that nobody likes, right? But one feature that I would like to see a lot less of is maze levels, just for the sake of being a maze level, you know? It's like every single game designer in RPGs thinks they have to put a maze in their game. That's why Paris Park exists, right? Because statesmen and the COH devs thought City of Heroes needs a maze because all role-playing games have mazes. And like, if the maze makes sense to be a maze, I don't care. But like, the idea of we're going to put a maze into our game just to have a maze, where are you going? You can't run from me anymore. I have eye beams. See? Told you. And they're aggroing me from a long distance. Now let's play key. Oh, these are the restructurists versus the traditionalists. I thought that was a totally different story arc. I didn't think that had anything to do with Nemesis. Jeez, that guy took a long time. Getting some lag here. Yeah. That's potentially dangerous. Fighting a purple boss. Oh, is that a guardian? Where are you? Come on. Let's do the placate. Click. Yeah, that lag can get you killed. These guys can take a lot of punishment. Well, he is +3. Right? No, he's only +2. There we go. With you can't hit because the Guardian shielded him. Okay, so somewhere in here there is another piece of information. I have no freaking idea where. I haven't heard any glowies. Here's the last piece of information. Okay. I assume. If not, this may be an autocomplete. Yep, okay. Out we go. The Eternal Nemesis. You know, Nemesis was interested in Kray's mind-altering technology. Now he wants to go to Kray. So he's interacting with like every faction in the game. This is sort of like a crossover, I guess. Right? He was with the Rikti. He was with who? The Council. Now he's with the Kray. What am I doing? I'm going to Kray's Folly. Don't need the train for that. Alright, this will be our last mission today. I saw this fun video. This is a little bit of wargaming, but not real wargaming, just the people who are talking about it. So there's this channel. It's called the Player's Aid. So Player's Aids are it's a play on words or whatever. A Player's Aid in a war game is usually you have a map, you have counters or whatever, playing pieces, and then a Player's Aid is like usually a single one-sheet piece of paper or maybe a folded piece of paper. It's like a GM screen, but for a player, right? And it just has a summary of the order of turns, what the symbols mean on the unit markers, how the reinforcements are done, stuff like that. Just like a summary card. And so the channel is called The Player's Aid, and there's two guys. Can't remember their name, Andy and Greg or something. And I guess they're married. And so they did this episode where I guess the one guy wasn't there. So the other guy asked his wife onto the show, and she blindfolded him and then randomly picked. The guy has an entire wall, like an entire wall of war games, right? Like in his house, like you have one bank of shelves, floor to ceiling, and then another bank of shelves, floor to ceiling, and every single one of them is packed with war games. So he must have, I don't know, a couple hundred. And so what she did was she blindfolded him, and then she randomly selected 10 war games from his shelf. And I don't know how many she's ever played. It sounds like she's played a couple with him, but most of these she hadn't played. And so she pulled 10 games off the shelf, and while he was blindfolded, she described the games to him, just like what the cover looks like. There's a guy with a gun, and sunset in the background with helicopters or something like that. And from the description, he was supposed to come up with what he thought, which game he thought it was. And so he got like 6 or 7 out of 10 right. But then they had his friend do the same thing, and his friend's wife, the other guy's wife, picked 10 games off the shelf, and with the help of the guy that owned all the games. And so now it's like, so I'm blindfolded and I'm trying to do my games, and now you're blindfolded and you're trying to do not your games but my games. And so his friend got more right than he did of his own games, and so then he did it again and said, I gotta redeem myself, right? He got 8 out of 10, I only got 7 out of 10 on my own games, so I can't let that stand. I've got to redeem myself. And it was very entertaining to watch, and it just goes to show how dedicated gamers are to the stuff that they love. It would be like with me, you describing, what a faction in COH looks like, and me telling you which faction it is, or maybe describing what a superhero looks like, and me telling you which of my characters you're describing, Liberty Lass or Dark Phantom or Tiger Shrike or somebody like that. Yeah, we need more damage on that thing. But there were so many of the games where he's like, yeah, we haven't played this one yet. We haven't played this one yet. Oh, I'm dying to play this one, but we haven't played this one yet. So he clearly has bought more games than he's played. And this one friend of mine was saying, we're sort of talking about this, although I didn't mention this episode to him. And he said, if it takes you weeks to play a game, like, some of these people will order, they're like comic book collectors, right? They'll order and buy like a new game every month. But if it takes you more than a month to play out one of the games, right, then you're losing ground, right? And eventually you're going to build up a whole bunch of games that you've never played that are just sitting on the shelf. That I don't want to have happen. I want to play the games that we are having some server difficulties. Hopefully that won't mess this mission up. I want to play the games that I order, play them through to completion, right? Do all the scenarios, etc., before I go ordering more games. And in a sense, it's frustrating because, and what else was I talking about with this? Where I was talking about something, a similar case where I said you have to strike while the iron's hot, or you might not be able to get whatever it is that you're trying to purchase, which can be very frustrating, right? Role-playing games, I guess, are like that too. So in Savage Worlds, they put out a new thing like Holler, right? And they give you a Kickstarter. And it kind of, if you don't get in on the Kickstarter or order it immediately after they produce it, you may not be able to get anything but the PDFs. Because they make just so many of them, and when they're gone, they're gone. And you kind of have to strike while the iron's hot. So I definitely prefer hard copies of things, but one of the struggles when you're talking about hard copies is that sometimes you end up with an out of print, out of stock situation, and you just can't get whatever it is. That's definitely happening to me with some of the war game stuff. All right, I'd like to get started with Advanced Squad Leader, but a lot of the stuff is like the starter kits and everything are all out of stock. I'd like to get started with Old School Tactical, but other than Volume 1, which is sort of the starter kit, everything, including the expansions for Volume 1 and all the other volumes, are out of stock. I would like to get going on Lock and Load, but that's all out of stock, other than the starter kit, right? So everything else is not purchasable. So I find that kind of thing very frustrating. So on the one hand, you want to savor the collecting, right? You don't want to rush through and buy like 17 games all at once and then not play any of them. On the other hand, if you don't buy the games while they're in stock, they may never be in stock again, right? You might not have a choice. Guys, I've seen it happen with YouTube channels, right? Where there's a YouTube channel and they've got some good videos and I bookmark the channel. I'll go back and watch these videos. They'll be around. And then you go back and the YouTube channel is deleted. It's gone, or the videos are gone and you find out they got copyright struck for some bizarre reason or takedown, you know? And it can happen for almost any reason on YouTube. It's not like there's any logic to it. So then you're like, well, better watch the videos while they're there because they might be gone when you go to watch them again. It's really why I do like ownership, because then once I own the thing, at least nobody can take it away from me. But the only way you own something is if you have a physical copy, and sometimes, physical copies go out of print. So it really can be a struggle when you want to collect stuff, no matter what it is. And, you know, we saw it with this game, right? It went away. Why is this guy only a minion? How did he see me? I guess I was still exposed. I feel like it's taking longer to go back into hide than it did the last time I played a Stalker. Like it's taking a half a second longer or something. Maybe it's just the timer in my head is not right. I guess that's what it is. Okay, if we've done all of that, who have I missed? There. This guy. Okay. Surgeons first because otherwise they'll heal the other guys. Oh, the other one, Harnmaster, right? There were a whole bunch of cool books for Harnmaster. Almost all of them are out of print. Can't get them. You can get the PDFs, but you can't get the actual physical books. Same thing. Who's next? We're not going to take this now, but who's the next one? Stop Nemesis from making a new brain. I'm not sure. That might finish us in the next episode, but we're not going to do that for now. Let's head to the base because we have salvage to put up. And we may have some recipes to make. We'll see. Don't need that. see what we can make here. Defense buff. Okay, we can do that. Damage, we can do that. And recharge, we can do that. There we go. That clears some salvage out. Probably at least enough for the next episode. Click. And we can drop these in here. Right, so at 42 we'll be able to replace a couple of enhancements, not too many. And guys, with that, I think we're going to stop. I hope you have enjoyed. This has been City of Heroes soloing the Stalker, and I'll see you next time.